Yo, what is going on, everybody? This is Beanie, and today we are going to do another countdown video. We are counting down the top 10 third basemen currently available in MLB The Show 17. There's really not more to be said other than, please like, subscribe, and retweet this video for your chance to enter the Hosmer jersey giveaway. Just want to remind you guys of that, but let's go ahead and get into the vid. Alright guys, coming in at number 10 is the 89 Live Series Adrian Beltre, and this card was kind of tough to place on the list for me. He's a great hitter, and he's a really good defender too, but he's not the best versus righties. This list was pretty tough. It wasn't tough to find the top 10. Like, I thought it was pretty clear who they were, but it was tough to kind of place them because you have a lot of guys with really good mixes and stuff. And Adrian Beltre, his contact versus righties is great along with good vision, but his power is just a little bit too low, and also he only has 61 reaction. And I think reaction is pretty important at third base as far as defense goes. But other than that, he is a very solid, very reliable defender and a great hitter. Definitely deserving of top 10. Coming in at number 9 is another Texas Ranger, and that is the 93 Buddy Bell. And honestly, I kind of want to put this guy higher on the list, but third base is just such a good position right now relative to the other positions. The things that kept this guy off of, well, it didn't keep him off the list, but kept him from being higher on the list. Once again, his reaction doesn't quite measure up to his fielding and and all of his other stuff, but it's better than Beltre's. And also, he's 91-40 with 97 vision versus lefties, but he seems to kind of play down versus lefties and play up versus righties. It feels like you're swinging a twig whenever he faces lefties. You just cannot hit that many hard balls. Like, if you're facing a lefty with Buddy Bell, like, you're going for a single, because unless it's something crazy, that's about all you can really hope for. But against righties, he's a monster. I've hit tons of extra base hits, tons of home runs righty on righty with this guy. He's an absolute monster, and I've been playing him at shortstop, and defensively at shortstop, I almost think he's better than he is at third base. And he has been fantastic. You have no idea how many those Jeter-esque throws, the backhanded hop jumps and all that. He's amazing at stuff like that. This card is severely underrated, and I've really enjoyed playing with him. Definitely, there is definitely an argument that he should be higher on the list. And at number 8, we have Nolan Arenado, another guy who I think, has an argument to be higher on the list. He's a great hitter, very, very good versus righties with decent vision. He's okay versus lefties. I don't know. I feel like they kind of undersell his hitting a little bit, but that doesn't change the fact that he's still really, really good. And defensively, he's a machine. I mean, some of the best fielding in the game. The only thing that kind of, once again, kind of keeps him down is his reaction isn't elite with the rest of his defense. The rest of his defense is elite, but he has that slow reaction. So, if you're playing in like a corners in or a bunt defense or something like that, and a hard ball is hit to him, he's not going to be as good as guys that have higher reaction to balls like that. But still, even with all of that, he's still one of the best third basemen in the game. And man, I'm telling you, it is so hard. There are 4 live series cards that were like, it was impossible to separate them because they're all just so deadgum good. And speaking of those live series cards, up next is the live series Manny Machado. And boy, he's awesome, guys. He is freaking awesome. I've always felt since even 2015 that he has more pop than what his attributes give him credit for. And 81 power versus righties is nothing to sneeze at, but even versus lefties, that 58 power, I feel like he hits the ball a lot harder than that. He has, his hitting stats don't jump out at you, kind of like Arenado's. They don't jump out at you, but they're just solid across the board. Just a really, really solid player. And you know, with the quirks and all that, and inside edge. You can't forget about inside edge. That plus quirks, it makes him just a really great solid hitter that you can pop in like the 5-hole, maybe the 2-hole if you want. And his defense, just like Arenado's, is elite, but I think Machado's defense is even better because his reaction is right there on par with the rest of his attributes, and there's really not a flaw in his defensive game. He's amazing across the board. Plus, you can play him at shortstop, and he's going to be amazing for you there too. And it's also really nice to get the type of offensive production that you get out of him at the shortstop position, because a lot of times you have to pick between offense and defense. With Machado, if you want to put him at short, you don't have to. You just have a great defender and a very solid across-the-board hitter. At number 6, we have Edgar Martinez. And this card, man, offensively, he is one of the best hitting cards in the game. He has an argument for the best hitting card in the game. He doesn't have a flaw in his hitting game. He hits everybody. It's insane, honestly. Like you can see for yourself. Like this guy, you're gonna hit tons of bombs. You're gonna hit tons of doubles. He's gonna be amazing for you in your lineup. And but the trade-off with that is his defense is garbage. He's one of the worst defensive third basemen in the game. He has that secondary at first base, so you can play him at first if you want. I know a lot of people do that, and a lot of people were bummed out that I left him off the top first baseman list. He would have definitely probably been higher on that list than he is on this list, but it went against my stipulation for putting together this list. But at third base, you know, you're definitely going to have to sacrifice a little defense if you want to get that, if you want this guy in your lineup. Do I think it's worth it? Yeah, I do, because his offense is so good. And, you know, I've always said that if you have to pick between offense and defense, it's probably better to go with offense more times than not, unless you're dealing, you know, like unless your outfield is like terrible in the corners and you need a really good defensive center fielder or something weird like that. So, yeah, this guy, you're definitely sacrificing some defense, but the offense that you get, I think, is totally worth the trade-off. And if you want to put him at first, you can. I don't particularly like doing that because I like to have a left-handed power bat at first base. So, you know, having a righty there isn't the biggest deal, but it just kind of goes against the way I like to build my team. So if I had this card, I would put him at third and just kind of sacrifice the defense, you know. At number 5, we have the Josh Donaldson card, and this card, just like the Machado and the Arenado, it's really hard to separate them out. I put this card a little bit higher than them because he's just better offensively. You know, against righties, he's not, but against lefties, he's a monster. And both Machado and Arenado kind of, they have a few holes in their game hitting left-handed pitchers, but Donaldson clearly doesn't. He's great against left-handed pitchers. And even though I value power versus righties and contact versus righties more than I do versus lefties, I think that the difference between them in that department is negligible, while the difference against lefties is significant. The only detraction from Donaldson, and it's not even really a detraction, is he's not as good as Arenado and Machado are defensively, but he's still very, very, very solid. Like 84, 78, 70 is plenty enough to get the job done over at third base and be a really, really good defender. And honestly, I don't even know like how many, like I don't know what the difference between 95 fielding and 84 fielding, if that's gonna ever cost you over the course of time. Maybe like 1 or 2 runs over the course of the entirety of this game, but I don't think it's gonna cost you that much. And then the top live series player, or live series third baseman, is Kris Bryant. And this card offensively is just a machine. He's a monster versus lefties. Against righties, he's very, very, very good. Probably better than the other 3 against righties and definitely better than the other 3 against lefties. His vision isn't the highest, and his defense isn't quite as good as those other guys, even though I think they kind of undersell Bryant's defense a little bit, because his defense is not I think his defense is a little bit better than 74 fielding with 70 reaction or whatever. And you know, that's not in the game. That's not great defensively, but once again, I think it's good enough to where he's not going to be a noticeable detraction out there like the Edgar Martinez would be. The Edgar Martinez, you would be able to notice how bad his defense was. He would botch balls all the time. He would just not be very good out in the field. This card, I don't think you're going to experience that. I think, you know, he may miss a ball here or there, a hard hit, ground ball or something like that. He may kind of whiff on it or olay it. But in the grand scheme of things, I think he's going to be plenty solid for you over there, and it's totally worth getting that offense. Coming in at number 3 is a guy that I really debated putting at number 1 or number 2, but I just couldn't quite get there because of his power versus righties. And honestly, he's fine against righties. He's great. He's elite against righties. He's just not as elite as the next 2 on the list, but he's still fantastic against righties. He's still one of the best hitters in the game versus lefties. He has good vision to go along with that. He has a little bit of speed. He has that 70, 78. That is good. That's enough to be able to make a little noise on the base paths. And he's also got really solid fielding, kind of like Josh Donaldson, maybe even a little bit better than Donaldson because his reaction is higher. But yeah, this guy is just, he's going to do everything solid for you out in the field and on the base pass, and then he's going to be a monster at the plate. I think this card is worth every penny that you spend on the Mets collection and doing the team epic. I know you have to chunk out that change for Cespedes, and I'm not a big fan of that Cespedes card, and a lot of people feel that the same way. But I think he's totally worth getting. Plus, you get Noah Syndergaard, which is another bonus. But this card is worth every penny that you would spend in order to acquire him. And number 2 is, this may be a bit of a surprise, I don't really know, but it's the 99 Miguel Cabrera. I thought, I went back and forth with myself, should I put this guy number 1, but I just couldn't get there because the number 1 guy is just so unbelievable. But the 99 Miggy is all, I mean, he's like, he's better than Edgar Martinez offensively somehow. Like, I don't know how it gets a lot better than that Edgar card, but this card does it. He's almost perfect versus righties. He is perfect versus lefties. He has 79 vision, 93 disciplining clutch. Even though those 2 are just like, you know, I don't really care about them that much. Defensively, you know, a lot of people might be like, well, you got to sacrifice that defense, and, you know, you probably want to put him at first base. Or I disagree. I completely disagree. This guy's defense is not much worse than Kris Bryant's. It seems like psychologically in our head that transition from 70 to 69 is way bigger than it actually is. It's just not true. 69 fielding is just slightly worse than 70 fielding, and he's not going to kill you. I think just like with the Kris Bryant, he's going to be one of those guys that olays on a ball or 2 here or there, on bunts, if they have a good bunter, even though bunting is kind of nerfed. If they put a good bunt down with the 28 speed and stuff, he might not be able to get there and make the play on it. But it's only going to be a couple times where he's really noticeable out there as a bad defender. Most of the time, he's going to get the job done for you fine. And I think that price is definitely worth paying to get the best offensive card in the game, probably. Maybe not the best, but definitely, I mean, he's what, top 2, top 3? Like, I don't know many cards that are better than this. And at number 1, I don't think that this should be a surprise at all. I think that it's pretty clear once you look at everything that this card is a superior card to the Miguel Cabrera. And that's the 99 George Brett. This card, let's just talk about the things that make him better than the Miggy. First of all, On offense, he is almost just as good as Miggy in everything, like only a point or two away in everything except power versus lefties. And even power versus lefties, he has 85 power, which is elite. It's not that, like, that one particular thing isn't enough to detract from the things that he does better than Miggy. One of those being 97 vision. The Miggy has 79 vision. This card has 97. Your PCI is going to be enormous with this card, like probably one of the biggest PCIs in the game. Another thing that separates him from Miggy is the fact that Miggy has sub 30 speed. I think his speed is like 28. And that is slow enough to where a lot of those doubles are going to turn into singles with Miggy if your opponent has a good outfield with good arms, you know. 58 speed is good enough to where you're never gonna be in a spot on the base pass where you feel like you're not gonna be able to take that base that you deserve from the hit that you got. With Miggy, that's gonna be the case a lot of the time. And then the final thing that separates him from the Miggy is just his defense. Once again, his defense is not great. It's kind of Chris Bryant-ish. It's just good, solid defense. And while I don't think he's going to be like that much better than Miggy on defense, because I think the Miggy will be fine, he is going to be a little bit better. He's going to make a couple plays that Miggy would not make. His arm is going to be just a little bit better, but those small things. And then I guess I said that was the final thing, but really the final thing is the fact that he's left-handed. And in my opinion, a left-handed bat in this game is always going to give you more production than a right-handed bat is going to give you. I think, if you have two cards of equal value, one's left-handed, three cards of equal value, one's right-handed, one's left-handed, and the other one's a switch hitter, and they all have identical attributes, I think that the switch hitter is the best, the lefty is the second best, and the righty is the worst. And that's just kind of, that you have outliers, you have guys that hit better righty on righty or lefty on lefty or whatever, but generally speaking, when painting with a broad brush in this community, most people hit better with lefties. Even World Series players, they hit better with lefties. But yeah, guys, that is gonna do it here. Please like, subscribe, retweet, tell your friends about these videos, and I will see you guys later on today. Peace.